Hey, hey, hey! We are back in business. What's happening, everybody? Soul Expression here, your humblest of hosts with the most horrific dreadlocks. What's happening? Hope y'all doing all right. It's y'all first time seeing my hair because I have my head cover on for all other episodes. But my head cover thingy, my what's called a hair sleeve, my hair sleeve is unavailable. So I'm trying to sneak this puff under my headphones real quick. But also, I don't care too much. And today I will be sharing my screen a lot. So there's no need to really fret about any of that. If you are here, good people, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channels. Welcome back to the Inner Storyteller, where if you are here, you are indeed in for real conversations. We talk about natural law, talk about religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the great. We talk about money, anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated by forces that do not have our best interests at heart because they are completely evil. Now, we are not bashing faith systems here. We are not calling people names for having or adhering to a religion. We are simply examining psychological affects and effects of the stories that we have the most faith in, stories we have the most stake in. And that examination sits right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, which is slavery. Government is slavery. And the question we have to keep coming back to is what can actually be improved with an honest look at the not honest look, pardon me. What can actually be improved with a proper with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works. Now, if any of that makes you uneasy, uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, please be assured and reassured that even though you are 1000% encouraged to stay, good people, you are, of course, welcome to leave right after you like the video. Gotta like the video first. Can't leave without liking the video. The door is unfortunately locked. But alas, if you are here, you probably already liked the video. So I want to thank you, and let's get into today's reaction. Okay, we are reacting to a couple random, um, you know, unfortunate events, as I like to call it, and I literally name my Instagram save file "unfortunate events." Right, this particular save file, because I got a bunch of save files on my Instagram. But this one I call unfortunate events. And we're gonna react. We're gonna react a little bit. We're gonna watch, and then we're gonna give my thoughts on a few of these. As you can see, a couple of them have this little warning sign of don't watch this if you're faint of heart, right? But we're not gonna look at the most graphic. We're gonna look at the somewhat YouTube friendly, and we're just gonna talk about the moral implications as well as my general thoughts on some of these videos, and then we're gonna call it a day. Let's get into the first one. Let's make sure you can hear it. All right, and I wonder, can I just show the video itself? No, it doesn't get bigger. All right.
Religious and political leaders in Israeli
Uh-oh.
settlements.
Oh, I think I have to. 1 second. I think I have to. You see, stop the share. And when I click share screen, also share tab audio. Oh, that's already on. I don't know why I can't hear it. Add to stage.
In Gush Etzion were exposed yesterday for creating child pornography and gang raping children for years. And this investigation is Matt Zaman Emet, True Time by Roni Zinger. And it featured testimonies from 5 women, most of them who didn't know each other, describing strikingly similar patterns of organized, multi-perpetrator, ritualistic sexual abuse in the Gush Etzion settlement block, a group of communities in the West Bank. Or I should say, a group of illegal settlements in the West Bank. What they describe as abuse, often beginning around the age of 4 years old and continued for years, group and gang rapes involving multiple adult men, ritualistic.
Click another video. Let me see if it just muted that video. Like if Instagram just muted that video.
You were certified under the Mental Health Act.
Huh. Well, if I can't hear it, I can't react to it. So, oh, I have 2 viewers. Can y'all tell me, let me go to the comments. Can y'all tell me if y'all can hear this really fast, please? Because if y'all can hear it, then great. I'm still going to have to do something else.
This is breaking news. Religious and political leaders in Israeli settlements in Gush Etzion were exposed yesterday for creating child pornography and raping children.
Toggle is here, so now it's muted.
Investigation was aired by Israeli public broadcaster Can 11.
So there's something going on with my general settings and whatnot, but looks like I'm just gonna have to talk about them. Which is fine, which is absolutely fine. So Sam Parker posted on his Twitter feed, disgusting religious and political leaders in Israeli settlements in Gush Etzion were exposed yesterday for creating child porn and gang raping children for years. Okay, years. Okay? Listen to this girl cry out against the abuse. It's not a graphic video. They don't show anything graphic in the video, but that's what that was the first thing we were going to react to, good people. And I guess we're going to have to react without reacting, because I don't want to like watch it on my phone and then react, and I also don't want to share it, show it, and then I can't hear it, and all, you guys get all of the. Anyway, so the first word in this post is disgusting, and of course that is the most accurate term. Is this? It's a very disgusting state of affairs. But what does it actually say? To me, and I'm not trying to make light of those experiencing trauma, but it very plainly displays exactly what happens every time the religion of man's authority is successful. What do I mean by this? Well, there's a saying that goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And there's different variations of the same saying, but power corrupts people. Now, in light of the fact that sometimes you have to say something in a simple way and without looking for the exact nuance, we can acknowledge that this statement is relatively true, right? That obviously it's not power itself that corrupts people, but more so their own stories that they tell themselves about their power that they may, wield, or find themselves gaining more and more power. They tell themselves stories about themselves, about their relationship to the power, about the people that recognize and accept that they now have some sort of power. And through those stories, they are corrupted. But by and large, power corrupts people. This is something that I am not above necessarily, right? I pray that if I do gain a strong influence, that I never turn into something so disgusting. And I know I wouldn't go, so far as these law enforcement personnel, but that's the thing, right? enforcement. And the reason why I call it the religion of man's authority is because when man enforces man's law and assumes a position of authority and is given said authority by the obedient class, that's a form of power rooted in a belief system. It's not a form of power rooted in nature. Therefore, it's a religion, and the religion of man's authority always leads to this abuse. Not by everybody who is in positions of power, but by every nation and every city and every township and whatnot. Like every group of people over, let's just say over a couple hundred people, when there is a power structure, there is always grape and child abuse and woman abuse and elder abuse from those in power. And usually the physical actions are done by the cronies working under those in power. And so this, the Israeli settlements in Gush et Zion, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so forgive me if I'm not. It says religious and political leaders. Now, the fact that religious leaders in general are involved in being caught again and again, century after century, administration after administration, pope after pope, whatever, that religious leadership is caught harming children shows you not something about the God that they claim to serve, but about the whole game of institutionalized religion in general. Institutionalized religion is only playing one game, and that game is, of course, mind control. Right? You concoct very compelling stories about things that are real. The story is not real, but the story is about something real, right? I can concoct stories that explore the depth of karma. I can concoct stories that explore the depth of polarity, of rhythm, of cause and effect, right? And through those stories, compel people to adhere to a certain belief system, to adopt a certain worldview that may be in contradiction with natural law, with the laws of nature, with the way this universe was built, and the way that we are subtly encouraged to be by the universe, right? We are subtly encouraged by the universe to be generous, to be not initiating harm unnecessarily, to be to be smarter and smarter so that we can solve problems in a more sustainable and more positive way, with a net positive at the end of solving the problem. But, of course, with the mother and father of all religions, the religion of monetary value and the religion of man's authority, we end up with power structures. And in those power structures, most individual adults shuck their responsibility to kind of till the soil and just be responsible over their own lives. And in doing so, give other ordinary people almost what could be said is almost real power, right? Not godly power, but real power, where they can say words and then tragic actions take place. They can say words and tragic mistakes are made just because those people had power. And in that life, in that existence, you get hierarchies of man, and at the very top of the hierarchies is, of course, the religious hierarchies. And so every time that there is power introduced. Power corrupts to a very large degree. So what does all this mean? All this means that the way that we treat each other, the way that human beings treat each other, is heavily influenced by a hierarchy of power structures led at the top by people claiming to have a direct link between ordinary people and God. And those people are caught again and again and again and again and again and again engaging in either deceit or initiating harm. And a whole lot of children get caught up in said harm. Now that should make somebody take a pause and like, well, damn, do we really have to be obedient to these people? Like, would I choose to be obedient to such a system if I was given a real chance to make a different choice? Would I go, no, I kind of like the way things are. Yeah, those things happen, but they didn't happen to my kids, so or would we choose to go, no, that's wrong. Thank you for giving me this choice. Magic wand, I'm getting rid of all of this shit. I think 99.99% of people, if given, again, the real choice, okay, let's say if given an informed choice, because a lot of people don't know a lot of the darkest things that happen. We're too occupied with celebrity culture. We're too occupied with just, making the next paycheck. We're too occupied with what's going on in this niche field, in the fashion world, what's going on in music, what's going on in movies, what's going on in car racing, NASCAR and car racing, what's going on with football and whatnot, right? Which is fine. I mean, enjoy yourself. But let's say 99% of people are given the chance, or excuse me, someone out of the 99% is given the information to understand what's happening and given the choice to go keep things the way that they are or change things, right? And let's just say, and magically they could make some very great choices where they're not accidentally changing things completely for the worst because their ego is in the way of their discernment or something like that. Most people, 0.01% excluded, would change things. So where does that leave us? Let's see if I can zoom it in this time. Now I want to zoom it in. Can you zoom in? Can you get small? Can you come in close to my face? No? Okay. Hey, there we go. Where does that leave us? That leaves us with a different choice, but a real choice this time, not a hypothetical thought experiment choice. The choice that leaves us with is, are we going to remain obedient to this system, to these systems, to these people that write down these systems? You know what's funny about these systems is they're all dead. They're not living, they're inanimate, right? Contract law is about written word. And if you don't know, contract law is older than all other law, all other forms of law, right? All economic structures, everything else came after the concept of contract law. Contract law was first. When it comes to modern, and I say modern, I mean like at least 6,000 years, 5,000 years or so since Sumer. Modern man's law, okay? Contract law, the reason why there are like declarations and constitutions and whatnot that act as the sort of letters of incorporation for nations to be formed is because it's all under contract law. It's all under, we wrote these terms down, and anyone born in within these borders is automatically agreeing to the terms and conditions that we wrote down for this territory, right? And the territory is also defined in the contract, and everything is just contracts. So the fact that it's all contract law means it's all dead. Our obedience to it is just coming from the stories we tell ourselves about it. Sorry if y'all can hear this snapping. I'm fixing my pants with this hand. There's nothing substantive about man's law. It doesn't stand on a foundational. By the way, I'm back up to 2 live viewers. Y'all, please like the video, okay? Even if you leave, you gotta like the video on your way out. If you don't like the video, you're gonna accidentally trip, okay? You're gonna trip, you're not gonna fall, but you're gonna get buckled. It's gonna hurt your toe, and you don't want that to happen. So like the video, okay? I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. You help me help you, okay? Here we go. Our obedience to these contracts is wholly and singularly dependent on our minds being controlled by the people who draw these contracts. Draw, when it comes to contract law, means to make up the contract. Okay? People that make up these contracts, they know, and they know beyond the shadow of a doubt, the psychological work that a contract does to the human mind. They know how significant the invention of the written word is from a psychological standpoint. They know that contracts work directly on the inner storyteller and not just on the and not just on the conscious mind, on your decision maker, right? But the inner storyteller, which dictates internally at the speed of thought, faster than you could plan for, what gets associated with safety, what gets associated with survival, what gets associated with even thriving, abundance, and good concepts, what is associated with danger, what is associated with moral correctness, right? The inner storyteller is behind all of those associations because, in my philosophy and on this channel, how we talk about it, your inner storyteller is the mechanism through which the stories you tell yourself are interpreted and the stories are assigned to memory. Right? You remember an event, the story you tell yourself about that event is told by the inner storyteller, interpreted by the inner storyteller, and the associations with what was good, what was bad, what was fair, unfair, dangerous, safe, whatever. That sorting mechanism, that's the inner storyteller. Okay? And contracts, symbols of that nature work beyond just your conscience and your subconscious and conscious decision makers in your mind. They go beyond and deeper than that and speak directly to the inner storyteller. And because the people that draw these contracts know what they're doing, they designed the contract to specifically trigger the sorting function of legitimate, to associate safety with adherence to the contract, with not violating the contract. And because of that legitimacy clause, if you will, to use a contractual term, because they all feel legit, it's hard to question a contract, right? When's the last time you opened the terms and conditions of any app scrolled all the way down 600 pages to the part where they talk about also we reserve the right to sell your information, and called the company and said, hey, I want to strike that, that clause from the contract. You're not allowed to sell my information, but as soon as we can strike that from the contract, then I'll go ahead and sign up and I'll pay you your $10 a month, $19 a month. It used to be $10 a month, now it's $19 a month. Right? When's the last time you looked at your phone provider, your AT&T? You go to AT&T, you look at their contract. Yeah, by the way, you're granting us security interest in your account and whatnot. Huh? What? Security interest? What's that? We're not going to get into banking today, but you know what I'm saying? When's the last time you questioned a contract? For most people, it's never, right? Or it's, well, I questioned it internally a couple times and I had some thoughts, but I just signed it at the end of the day. And that this relationship we have with the contract is exactly the result of the fact that the contract is a symbol that speaks to something deeper than your conscious decision making mind. Something more primitive and more intimate than your decision making mind. Most people don't even want to acknowledge the fact that there is aspects and depth to themselves deeper than their decision making mind. Some people think that they make decisions for every thought that enters their mind. You don't for 99% of the thoughts that enter your mind. People that are enlightened acknowledge the fact that the mind just keeps going on its own. Right? People that are master meditators, they can get very quiet up there. I myself can get very quiet up there for a period of time. But it's impossible to stay very quiet up there because there's just too much information in this place designed by this, much greater force than an individual with a much different mind than an individual human. Right? God and a single man are not the same thing. Right? You can take the mindscapes of all adults who have ever existed and exist now today. Put them together in a supermind and you still wouldn't equal the mind of God that created the entire cosmos and the entire everything, as well as the entire quantum realm. Right? Which is infinitely bigger than the macro universe. If you look at like phenomenon happens in the macro, and then phenomenon happens in the super micro, and the super micro is very, very small. So it's more everywhere than the super macro. It's hard to put into words. I don't read enough to put these concepts that I think about into perfect words, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. The very, very small is more everywhere than the very, very big, in a way. That is what, the mind of God can not only come up with, but create, sustain, set into motion, and be a part of, and be within all things. So there's no comparing the mind of man to the mind of God. Yet, within the religion of man's authority, using contract law and, symbolism to perform mind control on the subjects of any given government, they think themselves gods. And we, the obedient order follower class, give them the title gods in our communication by obeying their orders without question. We communicate to the universe, yes, he is my God. Yes, she is my God. Yes, the legislature is my God. Yes, the Senate, the court system is my God. Right? Yes, the prime minister. Yes, the emperor. Yes, the family. That's what we're communicating. And that's and in light of that, right, we have a choice to make. What story are you going to tell? And what story are you okay. And what story are you willing to live from here on out? Is it going to be the story of, well, I just go along to get along, I don't rock the boat, and that's how I keep my family safe? Which was not a story that you wrote. That was a story given to you, right? Or is it going to be more of, I'm learning what I need to learn, gathering the grammar I need to act. I'm understanding what I learned, and I'm giving myself a little grace and a little time to assimilate and implement the things that I'm learning. And then I'm taking real world action to change how I automatically respond to the command of the order giver class, which is less than 1% of the world, I think. I don't know. I don't know how big it is. I'm not in it, but I think it's less than 1% of the world. Okay, maybe a couple million people in the order giver class. If you include their cronies without including the entire police force or the entire military force of a given country, um, because those are order followers, right? So the order giver class is probably a few million people at most, which is still a lot of people if you concentrate it in like one area. But for a world of 8-9 billion, it's nothing. It's nothing. So yeah, man, it's time to upgrade our stories, good people. I'm glad you were willing to stay with me for my little rant. I love my rants. I love ranting in general. I am a philosopher first, a writer second, and a musician slash multi-talented artist third. But yeah, I gotta do some playing around and testing with my like headphones, what they're hooked up with, and all of that before I can do a proper reaction video. So we reacted to me reading the text on someone's tweet, Sam Parker's tweet. Shout out Sam Parker. If you have X, make sure you give him a follow. Share this video out, like the video, subscribe to the channels. Today is Wednesday, so I will indeed see y'all tomorrow in the next one. And I love you. Peace out. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?